When we dive into the realm of comic book adaptations, we often find ourselves navigating through a colorful tapestry of heroes, villains, and quirky side characters. But if there's one character who stands out as particularly bizarre, it's the Penguin from Tim Burton's Batman Returns. This film, released in 1992, takes the already surreal world of Gotham City and cranks the weirdness dial up to 11, primarily thanks to the oddity that is Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin. His story is a fantastic blend of the grotesque, the absurd, and the downright unreal. Buckle up as we explore the eccentricities of the Penguin, how his character defies realism, and what that says about storytelling in the Batman universe. First off, let's set the stage. The Penguin, portrayed by Danny DeVito, is not your average villain. With his short stature, flipper-like hands, and penchant for waddling, he's an amalgamation of characteristics that create a visually striking and repulsive figure. Burton introduces us to Cobblepot as a child, where he's abandoned by his parents and raised in the sewers of Gotham. From the get-go, we see how his life is steeped in tragedy, and yet it's presented with such fantastical elements that it's hard to take it seriously. I mean, who gets dumped in a river in a cage and survives to become a scheming villain? Only in Gotham. What's more ridiculous is the idea of a penguin ruling over a city with an army of circus freaks. It's a darkly comedic and surreal take on villainy that feels far removed from the gritty realism we see in many modern comic adaptations. The Penguin's entire storyline is steeped in hyperbole. His motivations, his mannerisms, and even his plans are so outlandish that one can't help but marvel at the creative liberties taken by Burton and his team. Let's take a closer look at the Penguin's origins. As a baby, he is ditched to the sewers because he's a little too different. I mean, that's some heavy baggage to carry into adulthood. Most folks might get therapy. The Penguin, however, chooses a different route. He grows up in the sewers, where he claims to have developed a family of sorts with a group of penguins, who, by the way, are probably the most well-trained, well-fed, and astonishingly loyal animals one could imagine. The idea of a humanoid, half-bird, half-human character living among actual penguins, plotting revenge against the upper class, is the stuff of fever dreams. What truly sets the Penguin apart from other villains is his grandiose schemes. At one point, he devises a plan to kidnap Gotham's children using an army of trained penguins with rockets strapped to their backs. Seriously? This is a villain who thinks that strapping explosives to adorable penguins is a foolproof plan for world domination. You can't help but laugh at the sheer absurdity of it all. There's something delightfully grotesque about the juxtaposition of cute penguins and sinister intentions. This is not a realistic portrayal of villainy. In the realm of realistic storytelling, villains usually have grounded motivations that stem from their past traumas or a desire for power that is relatable in some way. But the Penguin? His motivations are wrapped up in a whirlwind of revenge, a desire for acceptance, and a deep-seated hatred for Gotham's elite. The way he goes about fulfilling these desires is so over the top that it almost feels like a parody. He's the darkly comedic villain we didn't know we needed, but that doesn't make his actions any more plausible. Despite all the absurdity, there's a hint of tragedy in the Penguin's character. His backstory is a tragic one, filled with abandonment and loneliness. He longs for acceptance from society, yet he goes about it in the most bizarre ways possible. There's a poignant moment when he declares, "I'm not a monster, I'm a human being." It's a reminder that beneath the grotesque exterior lies a character who yearns for love and recognition. However, this emotional depth does not ground him in realism. Instead, it adds another layer to his already fantastical character. Burton seems to play with the idea of the grotesque as a form of art. The Penguin is an exaggerated reflection of societal rejection, yet he's so far removed from reality that it's hard to sympathize with him. His struggles are relatable on a human level, but the execution is steeped in fantasy. This dichotomy creates a unique viewing experience. You want to feel for him, but the absurdity of his actions and the world he inhabits keep you at arm's length. Another aspect that highlights the absurdity of the Penguin's character is his association with the circus. His band of misfits consists of circus performers, which is a fitting ensemble for such a whimsical villain. It's as if Burton decided that if the Penguin is going to be bizarre, then his friends should be equally outlandish. From the sword swallower to the acrobat, the entire crew feels like a caricature of a carnival gone wrong. This circus connection not only adds to the visual flair of the film, but also reinforces the idea that the Penguin is not bound by the constraints of realism. Instead of a traditional crime syndicate, he opts for a motley crew of performers, which is a delightful nod to the absurdity of his character. It raises the question, in a world where the lines between reality and fantasy are blurred, who is the true villain? Is it the Penguin, or is it the society that pushes him to this extreme? Burton's aesthetic choices also contribute to the Penguin's fantastical portrayal. The Gothic architecture of Gotham, coupled with the exaggerated, grotesque design of the Penguin himself, creates a world that feels like it's been pulled from a twisted fairy tale. The costumes, the sets, and even the lighting all work in harmony to create an atmosphere that feels unreal. The Penguin's attire, complete with a top hat, monocle, and tuxedo, serves to emphasize his theatrical nature. He's not just a villain, he's a performance artist, and every scene he's in feels like part of a larger, absurd spectacle. Burton's vision of Gotham is not just a city, it's a character in its own right. The exaggerated landscapes and eccentric inhabitants mirror the bizarre nature of the Penguin. Every time he appears on screen, the setting amplifies his weirdness. The dimly lit streets, the towering buildings, and the constant rain all contribute to a world where absurdity reigns supreme. The Penguin is a fitting product of this environment, as he embodies the grotesque charm that defines Burton's interpretation of Gotham. Beyond the whimsy and absurdity, the Penguin can also be seen as a symbol of societal rejection. He's a character who has been cast aside, and his villainy stems from a desire to reclaim power in a world that has marginalized him. This aspect of his character is perhaps the most grounded in reality, yet it is still wrapped in layers of fantastical storytelling. Burton seems to be making a commentary on how society treats those who are different, yet the way it's portrayed, through a half-human, half-bird creature, makes it feel almost comical. In the end, the Penguin's arc serves as a critique of the very society that ostracizes him. The absurdity of his plans and the grotesque nature of his character reflect the chaos and injustice of the world around him. But instead of providing a clear moral lesson, Burton leaves us with a surreal depiction that forces us to confront the absurdity of our own reality. The Penguin's life is a dark reflection of what happens when we allow societal norms to dictate who is worthy of acceptance. In a nutshell, the Penguin from Batman Returns is a character that thrives on the fantastical. His story is a rich tapestry of absurdity, tragedy, and social commentary that defies the conventions of realism. From his bizarre origins to his flamboyant schemes, the Penguin embodies a world where the strange and the whimsical collide. He is a villain who exists in a realm where logic takes a back seat to imagination, and that's what makes him so compelling.